Hi, this is Thomas for ESFI. I'm joined by Bob, StorrZerg, Toner, the Frater Infinitas manager here at MLG Dallas. Bob, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, but I'll get better.
So, your team is not as well known as some other teams are, and at MLG Dallas, you were playing in the open bracket and stuff like that. You don't have as much exposure, so why don't you just take this opportunity to tell us a little bit about your team, your players, and which games you're involved in?
All right. So our team was formed over the summer with Anfield and his friend. They wanted a new team because the current teams they've been on, Monomaniacs and VG, just weren't providing what they'd wanted, and they really wanted a community of people that would be together, as brothers. And Frater Infinitas, means brothers forever. So that's how our idea formed. I ended up getting picked up as a manager coach because they needed more help, and we've been moving forward since.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your roster, who's on your team and stuff like that, and any notable results they might have had?
Okay. I'll start off with Anfield since he's our captain. He's 3-time DC champion for DC Lands, which is going pretty good. They're not too big, but they're $500 prize pools usually, so it's not bad. We have Alcrush, who's on the team. He places in those events. He is yet to go to a major tournament yet. He's done okay on plams and stuff, We have Jon Snow, who's been doing really well online as well, posting good results on plam, winning turbos. He is also Zerg. We have Optic Dream, who's joined us. He is a Terran player. When he joined us, he was about mid to high masters, and after working with us, we got him into GM, and he's doing really, really well. He's done well on some online tournaments, mostly plams and such. He came down for DC LAN and placed 4th in that. And he was supposed to come to this event. However, he's from New York, and the weather wouldn't allow him. We also have Lucky Fool, who's here at the event, and he's a pretty well-known member of the community, especially on Team Liquid. Makes good posts. Everybody, I like to say everybody likes him, or at least loves to hate him.
Okay, so right before this interview, you told us your team is undergoing a merger with another gaming company called Leviathan Gaming. Why don't you tell us a little about your decision was it a necessity thing that you had to merger with Leviathan, or is it just you found it was in your best interests, or what?
It was for our best interests. When we started, we were essentially just a group of guys came together, and we wanted to be a really strong team. We had a really strong talent list. We've done what we could in terms of entering team leagues like ESEA and URTL, and currently trying to apply to IPTL and Zeke Team League and any other tournaments that open up. And given that kind of foundation of entering team leagues and hopefully posting good results, we're hoping to, gain more exposure, get our players, featured on streams, promote them more. And if something good happens, if they get picked up from another team, that's okay. Coma actually was with us, and he ended up getting picked up by Infinity 7. So I guess that's a good thing for us. And currently we don't have any money because we don't have any real sponsors, but Leviathan Gaming, they are going to help us out with sending people to events. Optic Dream was supposed to be here, but unfortunately weather wouldn't allow him to come.
So let's talk a little bit more about this specific event. You said Lucky Fool. I remember seeing Lucky Fool in the open bracket. Do you know what his results were at this event? Did he take down any big names, or did he play against anybody?
Yeah, he played against Stardust from Light, who's a Kespa player, and he actually did very well against him. He lost the first game, but his second game he won pretty handily, and his third game was a pretty close macro game, and one bad engagement, and he lost. But he was very close to taking him out. Went a couple more rounds in the losers bracket before getting knocked out by T-Gun. And the other player that's here that I'm managing, he's not with us, but his name is Future. He's an old school Brood War guy that was on, I believe, Media. He's very good, lots of talent, and he did very well. He made it to losers round 6, so he had the potential to go farther, just I guess wasn't there for him today.
So as a team manager of kind of a smaller team, I think you have a unique perspective on the scene as it is as a whole right now. I feel like you said you have a lot of difficulty. You don't have any money right now. You don't have any sponsors or anything like that. So I mean, what kind of difficulties do you feel there are for smaller teams trying to gain that exposure? Like when you're applying to IPTL and stuff like that, do you find that they're just not as responsive to you maybe, or they're not, is it harder, do you feel, to get kind of the exposure or get into those kinds of leagues and stuff like that?
The biggest difficulty is, or the biggest hurdle is information. If you don't know what you're looking for, it's going to be that much harder to get into things. So for team leagues, a lot of them have open entries to enter in for teams, but if you don't know where to look, it might be harder to get in. And for new teams and for the amateur league, which is very important to the growth of StarCraft, without the amateur scene, we have stagnation and there's no new talent comes through. So I think it's very important for smaller tournaments that they keep recognition. Like ESEA is relatively smaller online tournament, but pretty decent prize pool of 5K. URTL helps out, Zeke, IPTL has an amateur league, and all those leagues are fantastic and they need to be promoted more.
Okay, so talking a bit more about exposure, the MLG events are actually really well known for their open bracket and the fact that, almost any player can sign up and, have to get matched up against like top tier players right from the get-go. So what are your thoughts on the MLG format and the pro circuit format and stuff like that? Do you find it's better for smaller teams, or do you find that it's detrimental because you might have to face like MC in the first round of the open bracket, and then next thing you know you're in the losers bracket and out of the tournament maybe in the first day?
Let's see. The open bracket is very challenging. It is notorious for being hard. However, that's where names are made. If you have one good run, that is all you need to get the recognition you deserve. I mean, you look at Illusion. He made a good run. Quantic picked him up. Look at Suppy. He made a good run. He got picked up by EG. So it's a risk that you have to take for your team. You get them here, and you hope your players do well. And if they do well and they stay with your team, then your team gets recognition, and that's how your team gets to move up.
Okay. So how do you feel about the state of the future of StarCraft as an esport and stuff like that? Over the past few weeks and months, there's been a lot of speculation that StarCraft is kind of stagnating. It's kind of plateaued sort of in its growth, and that it's going to take something like a huge expansion like Heart of the Swarm to really start bringing more people in and stuff like that. So as the manager of a smaller team, what's your opinion and what's your perspective from where you stand? Like, do you feel that the StarCraft scene is growing? Like, are players coming to you, and lesser known players, maybe amateurs, are they coming to you and asking you to join your team and stuff like that, just so they might get a chance at getting some exposure? Or
For the last part, yes. Amateur players and smaller guys, they are coming to our team and talking to us. If they're not that interested in joining, they're definitely practicing with our guys because they're very, very talented. For the scene itself, if the StarCraft scene starts dwindling, the things that are going to get hit first are going to be the amateur scene. That's just not going to be as important as the pro scene. As if it's dwindling, for tournament results for major tournaments, they are actually increasing from what I saw. I believe DreamHack posted either close to record breaking or they broke their old record for DreamHack, I believe Valencia. WCS is posting very good results in terms of viewership. And MLG for this week, I believe, is also posting, I think, just as good as results as League of Legends is right now in terms of viewership. So in terms of tournaments dying down, no. But have something's been said online to hinder or to hurt the scene? Sure.
That's a fair answer. So I have another question here. You put a lot of emphasis on the fact that the amateur scene you feel is extremely important. Um, we talk a lot with Carmack, the director at IEM, who also feels that, you know, amateurs and bringing out new stars is extremely important. So what do you think that esports, like the entire scene, the general scene, can do to promote more amateur players and get more exposure to amateur players?
There are several things that are working out very well. Little things like King of the Hill tournaments, where you have, pretty much anybody that's a grandmaster or high masters can kind of enter in, and they can get exposure. They beat a couple good players, they can get a little money, and those are good games to watch because you don't know what's going on. It's a pretty rough series, and good way to find out who some new talent is. The others are team leagues. Team leagues are very important. I feel they are, if not as important as individual tournaments, if not more important. And smaller tournaments need to get better recognition, but they're going to have trouble because they're not well known. They're not major players. Tournaments like MLG and IPL and DreamHack and GSL, it's really up to them to help the amateur scene, to really an emphasis on that.
So currently, you're merging with Leviathan Gaming, and you have that coming up. Do you have plans to expand to any other games? With the rising popularity of League of Legends, MOBAs, Dota, stuff like that.
Can't really comment on that. As for if the team is looking to expand in those areas, maybe. My focus is mainly with just StarCraft 2, and that's more than I can handle right now.
Well, Storr, that's all the questions we have for you today. Would you like to give any shout-outs?
Sure. Please follow us at Leviathan Gaming on Twitter, on our website as well, and you can follow me at StorrZerg, and shout out to our two guys that are here, Lucky Fool and Future.
All right. Thank you for your time.